Hey y'all, welcome to another Saints pregame live chat. It is week 15. We are getting ready for the Saints to host the Kansas City Chiefs, the 12-1 Kansas City Chiefs, best record in the NFL. My name is Jeff Nowak, NOLA.com's digital sports producer. As always, if you want to check out any pregame content, head over to NOLA.com. I have it displayed to my right. We have all the info you need to watch the game, to get ready for the game. If you're looking specifically for all of our Saints stories, go to NOLA.com/sports/Saints, and you'll get all the content that we've posted throughout the day in the last few days. Pregame, inactives, players to watch, numbers to watch, expert picks, all that good stuff. But first, I do want to say, hey, if you have questions, comments, score predictions, pictures of your cat, I always ask for pictures of people's cats, and they never put them in the chat, and I don't understand why. I genuinely want cat pictures, especially if they are in Saints jerseys. So throw those in there. I'll kind of get through some pregame stuff, and then I'll try to get to all those comments, questions, whatever, toward the end and get to them live. So make sure you get those in there, get them rolling. I see a couple pointing right now, and I'll get to those in a minute. Thanks for anyone who's joined. I'm just kind of vamping a little bit to let some of the viewers get in. I didn't have the countdown video quite as long because it took a little while to go live, but we are here now. And so without further ado, again, my name is Jeff Nowak, NOLA.com's digital sports producer. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeff_Nowak, as it says on the screen. And I'm just going to pop into this how to watch file, and we're going to go through some quick score predictions, numbers to know, that sort of thing. Obviously, the big news today, Drew Brees is back. He has been out for 4 games after cracking 11 ribs and puncturing a lung, or collapsed lung, whatever you want to call it, it was discovered after the 49ers game. Some of the cracked ribs apparently happened in week 9 against the Bucs, and then they that injury got exacerbated in week 10, and he is back. He spent 4 weeks on injured reserve. Taysom Hill started those 4 games. He won the first 3, 2 against the Falcons, 1 against the quarterbackless Broncos. And then last week, the Saints really stumbled in a loss to the Eagles on the road. And it's set them up in a really difficult scenario going into the final 3 weeks of the season. They no longer control their destiny in the chase for the 1 seed and the top seed in the NFC. That is currently owned by the Packers, who played last night, beat Teddy Bridgewater and the Panthers. So the Saints have to win today just to keep pace. They have the same record, but they lose the tiebreaker because of that week 3 head-to-head loss in the Superdome. And it's going to be tough. You're in the same situation we were in last year, where you're tied for the best record in the conference and you are on the outside looking in, because the NFL decided this season to add an extra wildcard team. And by doing that, they had to eliminate one of the bye weeks. In previous seasons, the top 2 seeds would get a bye. And if that was the case this year, the Saints would feel a lot better about their current situation. That is not the case in 2020. Only one team, the top seed in the conference, gets that bye week. And it's a big difference for a team that, as you probably are aware, has some injury difficulties they're dealing with right now. Before this matchup, so Marquez Callaway already on IR and a few other guys already on IR. Before this matchup, the Saints put Michael Thomas, kind of a surprise addition to the injured reserve, and Deontay Harris. So they're without 2, as they get their passer back, they are now going to be without their two of their premier pass catching guys, in Michael Thomas, obviously, and in Deontay Harris, who also is a big loss in the return game. And Marcus Callaway, as I mentioned, is also out, so he's another loss in the return game. So you really have a lot of questions there, and we'll see how it goes. You're going to see a lot of Emmanuel Sanders. You're going to see a lot of Traquan Smith. I think you're going to see a return of the elite pass-catching Alvin Kamara that we have kind of missed for the past 4 weeks, with Taysom Hill kind of running the offense a bit differently. But that's only half the equation, because on the other side of the ball, the Saints have to find a way to slow down Patrick Mahomes and the 12-1 Kansas City Chiefs. They have weapons everywhere on the offense. From Tyreek Hill, who can beat you on any play for a long touchdown. Travis Kelce, a tight end, is leading the league in receiving yards. And to kind of point out, to kind of underscore how just monumentally crazy that is. No tight end has ever led the NFL in receiving yards. The only tight end to ever finish second was Kellen Winslow, and he did it, I want to say, in like 1982, 40 years ago. So it's not normal what they're doing, and especially what Travis Kelce is doing. And he's going to set the record for the most receiving yards by tight end in a season. It's just a matter of when, assuming he doesn't get hurt and miss the rest of the season. He only needs about 120 yards to do that. George Kittle owns that record right now. He could do it today with a big game. He had 140 something yards against the Dolphins last week, so the Saints really have to hammer down there. They haven't held up all season against tight ends. Last week they did a decent job on Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz, but they got eaten alive by Darren Waller, who did a lot of the same things that Travis Kelce is going to do today. So that's going to be more than Tyreek Hill. I think Travis Kelce is going to be the guy to watch. Obviously, they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, former LSU running back. They have Le'Veon Bell, who's on the team now after signing midseason. It just keeps on going. Even McCole Hardman, not a huge part of the offense, but he is one of the fastest guys on the planet. So the Saints have a lot of challenges to deal with on defense. Obviously, this game is 3:25 kickoff over on CBS. Good news if you are a DirecTV subscriber or a Uverse subscriber. Hey, the lights are back on. The WWL kind of contract dispute with CBS or with the networks has ended, and the channel is back on for all of those subscribers. So that's a good thing. If you've been struggling to deal with that, I know that must have been frustrating, but hey, good news, you've got the game. And obviously it's streaming on all the normal channels, same radio network. Let's go through some quick numbers to know here. So 0. That is the number of sacks that the Saints had last week against Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. Obviously, Jalen Hurts does a lot of things that helps prevent sacks. And the way the Saints had to rush, you have to do a lot more containing. You're not really trying to get upfield to the quarterback quite as quickly because you want to keep him in the pocket knowing that he wants to escape. And that's obviously something that you'd like to see more of, but it's also going to be the same type of strategy they're going to need to employ against Patrick Mahomes today. If Patrick Mahomes gets outside the pocket, you are in trouble, not only because he can run, but because when he can extend the play and you have guys like Travis Kelce and McCole Hardman running down the field, he's going to try to hit them over the top, and he's likely going to succeed because his arm is literally a cannon. Literally, it's figuratively a cannon. I hate when people misuse literally, and I just did it. But his arm is a cannon. If you ever play Madden, that's like the buff they give him is like his bazooka arm, and it's about as true as you can get. So that's going to be something they have to do. Cam Jordan, Trey Hendrickson, Marcus Davenport, they're going to have to make sure they stay disciplined on the edges. If Patrick Mahomes is able to roll out behind them and get 3-4 seconds to the edges of the field as Tyreek Hill is just burning guys over the top, the Saints are going to have a long day. So number one, the league, as we said, the league rank of Travis Kelce in receiving yards, 1,250. Number 2, league-wide rank of Saints total defense. Now, that was number 1 last week. So as good as the Saints have been, they did kind of get eaten alive a little bit last week, especially in the RPO game, which you're going to see a lot more of today. So hopefully, rather than struggling again, they will have learned some lessons from that game last week. And the optimistic way to look at that game is what a great warm-up for a lot of the same things that the Saints will face today. 323.7. That is how many passing yards Patrick Mahomes averages per game. He had a objectively bad week last week against the Dolphins. He threw 3 interceptions in the first half. 2 interceptions in the first quarter and 3 in the game. He also took a sack for negative 30 yards. He had a fumble that he recovered for a loss of 7 yards, and they won that game pretty easily. They had a 9-point lead in the fourth quarter. So it's just The road to beating Patrick Mahomes is so narrow. You have to take advantage of your opportunities. If you turn the ball over, you have to score. You can't leave points on the field. The last 2 weeks, Will Lutz has missed 3 field goals. One of them was from 57 yards, so you give him a pass on that, especially outdoors. But he's missed 2 within 40 yards, and that just can't happen. You can't leave points on the field. That all kind of dates back to that Will Lutz kick where he kind of stumbled and he looked like he might have tweaked his leg. So you have to wonder if there's maybe some issues there. But he's not limited in any way, according to the Saints, and that's so you just got to be better. One thing the Saints will be without today is Jameis Winston, who was added to the COVID reserve list today. It's unclear whether he tested positive or whether it's contact tracing type stuff. The same way the Broncos had those issues, but he will not be available today. And I think that's going to have a few impacts, even if he wasn't going to get on the field. He's the backup, right? So you have Drew Brees, and then Jameis Winston is the backup quarterback the same way Teddy Bridgewater was last year. So when Drew Brees went down, it was Teddy Bridgewater who went in mid-game. And that's what you expect from Jameis Winston. That's going to be Taysom Hill today. And if you remember when Taysom Hill was the backup to Teddy Bridgewater last year, his role in the offense was diminished because you have to make sure you don't get him hurt, knowing that he is your only option behind Drew Brees. So I think you're going to see less Taysom Hill today than you would in a normal matchup where Drew Brees is healthy, because they're just not going to want to risk getting him hurt. And then Drew Brees gets, his ribs flare up. And then what do? You have Alvin Kamara throwing passes? I don't know. But that's something to keep in mind. So we can go into score predictions really quick, and I'll go through some of your questions at the same time. All three of our of our reporters, our two beat reporters and our columnists, are not confident they have the Chiefs winning. Amy just has it at 35-31. Luke Johnson has it at 31-28. Rod has it at 31-20. That's not fun for y'all, obviously. I'll make this a little bigger so you can see it, so you can read it. That's obviously not great if you are trying to be optimistic. But hey, good news. They were all picking the Saints last week and they all lost. So it's not unprecedented that we go 0-3 and you guys end up happy, even if our guesses are a bit less optimistic. I, on the other hand, I make these picks against the spread. I had the Eagles last week. I felt pretty good about the Eagles just showing up behind a new quarterback and just having a lot of energy, and that's really what you saw. The Saints came out flat, the Eagles didn't, and I think it's the opposite today. I think when you're looking at betting lines, looking for home underdogs is a good way to kind of angle your idea of what you're going to see throughout the day. You don't often see a home team that is expected to lose by a lot, that is a competitive, good team, get blown out. They take that personally. They come out with energy, and you cannot replicate energy, especially in a stadium with nobody in it. I think the Saints come out a lot better today than they did last week. I think Drew Brees coming back gives you that kind of energy, that edge that you just can't, that the stadium being rocking can't give you the way it normally would. But that gives you that same kind of edge that the Saints played with against the Bucs. Another really high investment, high energy game that they came out with, and they really just dominated. I don't think the Saints dominate this game, but I think they win it. I think they look a lot better on defense than they did last week. A lot more like the team that you saw the last few years. The last 8-9 weeks leading up to that on that long winning streak. Here's a quick look at the playoff picture. As you can see, Packers 10-3. They actually won, so they're 11-3 now. Saints at 10-3. They need to win to keep pace. The Bucs are playing the Falcons right now. I don't have the score up in front of me. If the Falcons actually scroll down so you can see it. If the Falcons pull out that game and hand the Bucs another loss, the Saints will have backed into their fourth consecutive NFC South title. They can get that with a win as well, but it would be nice to just have that taken care of. You don't want that to stretch into next week. If the Saints do lose today, and you go into week 16 of a game against the Vikings, that's a must win anyway, and you're still kind of looking at that NFC South title, then you start to, it starts to be pressure. Whereas going into the Eagles game, it felt like it was an inevitability. If you go into that Vikings game and somehow you lose that game, you hit week 17 and it's, you're playing the Panthers in a game that's going to mean a lot to Teddy Bridgewater, and you have to win to take the conference. You don't want to take the division. You don't want to have to deal with that. So hopefully one way or the other that gets sorted out today. I'm going to scroll down. So as I said, we have live updates here. We have a live scoreboard. So make sure to check this out. If you're not able to watch the game, or even if you can watch the game, head on over here. We have a lot of really good updates that will keep you in the loop as the game goes on. But I'm going to pop through some of these questions. We have a few just welcomes from Cheryl, Marcella, T. We got a lot of Who-Dats. Oh, Dwayne has like 12 Who-Dats for us, so that's good. Waylon White, this will be a great game. Yeah, I mean, one way or the other, this is going to be an interesting game to watch. You can't say that about a lot of the Saints games this year. They've played in a lot of boring football games, and they've been on national television to do it. The Bucs game, as exciting as it was for a Saints fan to watch the Drew Brees and company beat up on the Bucs, that was boring. 38-3 is not a fun game to watch. The Broncos game was another dud. The Falcons game in New Orleans was kind of a dud. last week really was kind of frustrating. The Saints didn't score in the first half. Even when they've lost, they've been kind of in boring games. At least until the home stretch last week, it got a little exciting there. But one way or the other, I think this is going to be a game to watch. I have the Saints winning by 2, maybe like 24-22, 23-21, that range. I think it's going to be low scoring. The over-under is set at 53. If you're betting, I would take the under. I think that the Saints are going to do what they did against the Lions, against the Panthers, and in other games where they had, a lack of weapons due to injuries. They really just shortened the game. They stretched out their drives. They were efficient. They scored when they got opportunities to score. And what it did was it put a lot of pressure on the opponent to score every time they got the ball, because they know that if they punt it back, the Saints are just going to stack first downs, and who knows how many times you're going to get to score in the game. And I think that is the recipe for beating the Chiefs. You cannot give them extra possessions. You cannot turn the ball over. You cannot go 3 and out and expect to keep pace in the game where you have limited offensive weapons at your disposal. And that's Alvin Kamara, that's Emmanuel Sanders, that's Traquan Smith, that's Jared Cook. That's keeping the chains moving more than getting down the field quickly. You don't see a lot of deep shots in the Saints offense. I would advise against them in a game like this, because even if you succeed, putting your defense back on the field quickly is going to be a negative thing, even if you score. So it's the type of game where the Chiefs go down on a long scoring drive and they get 7 points on the board, and you bounce back and return the kickoff for a touchdown. That almost hurts you more than it helps you, because it just means that your defense is back out there again and accumulating that exhaustion. And by the end of the game, they're going to be burnt and not able to keep up. So that's going to be time of possession is going to be critical as always. Be safe. Yeah, I mean, Drew Brees, hopefully he can stay healthy. That's going to be the subplot for the final 3 games, knowing that, you saw what Taysom Hill had to offer, and I think that would be enough for you to win a good number of games, but I don't think it's going to be enough for you to win in the playoffs. So you really need to keep Drew Brees healthy. One thing to keep in mind with the IR, with the injured reserve, as I mentioned, Michael Thomas, Deontay Harris were put on injured reserve this week. The timing of that is significant. In 2020, they changed the COVID rule. They changed the IR rules due to COVID. And so instead of 8 weeks and having a limited number of guys you can bring back, it only takes 3 weeks, and you can bring back as many guys as you want. And that's why you've seen a ton of guys go on IR this year with injuries that normally would probably have just had them tying up a roster spot. But because it's week 15, so obviously you can do the easy math there. They're going to be out week 15, week 16, week 17. But then both of those guys, who I think the Saints expect to get back healthy, will be back, or will be eligible to return whenever the Saints play in the playoffs, whether it's that wild card round matchup, if they play, or if they get the bye, it would be the divisional round matchup. They're clinched a playoff berth either way. It's just a matter of when it is. So I think the idea was, we're just going to do this now. We're going to bite the bullet, knowing we're getting there one way or the other, and see what we can do. And by the time that they come back, we expect them to be fully healthy so that we can give it a legitimate shot in the playoffs. I think what you didn't want to have happen was Michael Thomas keeps going out there and gutting it out and just gets progressively worse and worse and worse. And then by the time you get to the playoffs, even if he's out there going, giving it his all, you might be seeing a shadow of the 100% Michael Thomas that you expect. So this is a long-term play for this season, and hopefully it works out. Hopefully they can get to the playoffs and not drop to the 3 seed. I think that's probably the worst they could possibly get to, even with a couple losses to close this one out. We're going through here. I don't see a ton of questions. I got Michael Burton. I assume this is not the Saints fullback, Michael Burton. I think he's getting ready for the game. But hey, Mike, thanks for chiming in. Is there a locker room problem with Michael Thomas, or does he? No, I think this is a legitimate injury. It's not about the issues earlier in the season with him having a fight with CD Deuce, CJ Gardner-Johnson. This is high ankle sprains are tough. High ankle sprains, not only are they very painful and they're very difficult to recover from, they have a high rate of re-injury. It's just the type of injury that you can make worse as the season goes on, and every time you're just going to keep rolling it, and that's why it's so difficult to try to rush someone back from a high ankle sprain, because even when they feel like they're ready to go, They're probably not, because it just takes that one tweak and all of a sudden you're back right where you started. If you remember Leonard Fournette at LSU, his final season at LSU is always what I comp it to, because he that's exactly what happened. He tried to come back from a high ankle sprain, and every time he would have a nice run in the first quarter, and then he would get tackled in the wrong way, and then he would miss the rest of the game. And that's what happens. It's an incredibly frustrating injury, and I think this is a very smart move, knowing that you don't have to, knowing that you're already in the playoffs. If the Saints weren't in the playoffs, this would be a different story. But having already clinched, it's smart to try to get Michael Thomas back for the playoffs as healthy as humanly possible, and you open up a roster spot while you do that. And you kind of take some of the question away. You know, if he's even just inactive, if they just rule him out, there's always going to be, oh, well, is he going to be back next week? Is he healthy enough to try to give it a go? Every week in practice, you're going to be getting questions about whether he's going to go. And this way, you're just not dealing with that. And you can just you can sign someone. Kenny Stills raised his hand on Twitter. You know, maybe they bring in a guy like that just for the stretch run, but who knows? But one way or the other, this is an injury thing. It is not. Oh, you can't post pictures. I'll try to fix that for next week. That explains why I haven't been getting any cat photos. Oh, man. Okay, now I know. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's been a lot of criticism of Taysom Hill, but you have to give him credit for stepping in and just running the offense. You know, this wasn't, especially that first game against the Falcons, to have the success he did in an offense designed for somebody else. It is impressive, and while he struggled in the first half against the Eagles and he's missed some reads and you have questions about whether he can be the long-term answer at quarterback, he helped them stay afloat this season as well as you could ask for. If you knew Drew Brees was going to go out during a stretch where you play 5 to 7 games on the road and you're going to go 3-1 go beforehand, you would sign up for that. 4-0 with your backup quarterback is unheard of. The Saints won 8 consecutive games with guys that weren't named Drew Brees starting. Think about that. That's wild. And you're 10-3 with getting your quarterback back, and you clinched the playoffs 2 weeks ago. Things could be worse. So we'll see. Like I said, I think Taysom Hill gets worked out of the game plan a bit today because of the Jameis Winston situation. But I think there's a lot to be optimistic about with the Saints and with Taysom Hill, regardless of what happens going forward. Oh, we got a who dat from Oklahoma. That's a thing. Thanks, Robin. Kathy chiming in. No cat picks. I don't know about that, but I appreciate it, George. Thank you. Todd Adolf. All right. 34-28. Yeah, I don't think the score's going to get that high, but hey, you know, we never know. Maybe it does. Either way, I think you're on the right path there. Just put Quan on Kelce. Yeah. That they're gonna have to figure something out. I think it's gonna be C.J. Gardner-Johnson that kind of tracks him a lot of the time. But yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to send a lot of attention Kelce's way. One thing I'll show you right here real quick. Oh no, I think I screwed that up. Hold on. There we go. So one thing that let's see if I can get this video rolling. One thing that you're gonna see a lot of today, and this is gonna be one of the last things I hit you on, is keep an eye out for the way Travis Kelce shifts before the play starts, because the Chiefs do it all the time, and they're going to do it constantly against the Saints. The Eagles did it last week with Dallas Goedert a couple times here, and I'll show you 2 of those plays, and both of those plays worked. First one was that long pass to Jalen Reagor that Jalen Hurts just missed him. Let's see. I'll speed up the playback here just so we can get to it before the game starts in 25 minutes. Let's hit it at 2 just to roll. And so basically what you're doing is you're looking at cover 1, man-to-man across the board. So they shift Dallas Goedert inside to force Janoris Jenkins over onto Jalen Reagor. And what that does is it allows him to this free run across the field against a safety or a cornerback that's in outside leverage. So he just has all this room to run open. Marcus Williams trips here. Not his best, not a rep that he's going to want to look at many times. But this is the type of play that you set up with that motion. And that's the type of thing that the Chiefs are going to do with Travis Kelce all day long. The Eagles did it again. Here, you have the same look. This is Malcolm Jenkins. And you shift Dallas Goedert inside. Malcolm Jenkins has to follow because you're in man-to-man. And you have this like very well-blocked quarterback run. You'll see how this works. And I mean, it's just a nice gain. And here's how the Chiefs do it. As you can see again, you end up with four receivers in man-to-man. They shift him inside. They run him across the middle just like Jalen Reagor did. The cornerback's in trail because he was forced to come inside. And again, cover one I'm pointing out here. And this is what you end up with. And you just have Travis Kelce coming across the middle of the field wide open because he's just running away from a guy and he has the speed to do it. And this is the type of shift that you would normally see with a fast wide receiver, Jalen Reagor, for instance. But because Travis Kelce is so fast and so big, he just creates a coverage difficulty that you can't always account for. Here they did the same thing and they threw a bubble screen. And these are a lot of RPO concepts where you're making that read at the line of scrimmage, and that's how you kind of determine what you're going to do. This time they roll out. Some of these times it's going to be handoffs. Some of these times it's going to be a max protective for a deep shot like they did later in the game. So you just got to read your keys and you just got to understand that the Chiefs can hit so many levels. I'd also watch out for this play. This is a play that I spotted, and if the Chiefs end up in a situation where they're in a goal to go, first and goal from the 2-point conversion, watch out for this play. Watch out for Tyreek Hill coming in motion, Travis Kelce coming across the middle behind the line of scrimmage, and watch what Patrick Mahomes does with this little fake. He's not giving it to Travis Kelce here because of the position they are in the field, but this is a play that anytime they want to run it, he's going to get 5 yards on that little shovel pitch. And like I said, if the Chiefs end up in a goal-to-go situation, watch out for that little pitch as he kind of works across the middle. Because I think you're going to see it if they end up in that situation. One way or another, I think you're going to end up with a few Tyreek Hill end-arounds like you saw in that play. He took one of those for a touchdown last week against the Dolphins. Here it is. Like this play is so difficult to stop when you have a guy that's got like 4.2 speed. He might be the fastest guy on the planet. And just watch how easily he makes 5 guys miss that should be able to make a play. Like look at all these guys. That's the type of speed you're dealing with for the Saints. And so you just got to find a way to contain it, find a way to get off the field when you can. Hold on. I want to get back to the feed. There we go. But let's keep going. I want to get to another couple questions and then we can clear out. Kenny Stills would be a good pickup. Yeah, I think you're going to see that. You put these guys on IR because you want to open up some roster spots, but the difficulty is when you sign a guy, he has to clear the COVID protocol. So it's not as simple as signing a guy and just bringing him in and having him play that Sunday. I think that's part of the reason that you haven't seen them pick up anybody yet, because they just put Michael Thomas and Deontay Harris on IR on Saturday. But I think for week 16 and 17, I think you're going to see them try to bring some guys in. And I think Kenny Stills would be a little easier to bring in because he was already on a team this year, and he should have an easier time passing the protocol than someone who's been, out of the league. They need to get Emmanuel Sanders going. Yeah, I mean, Emmanuel Sanders is going to be a big part of the game today. I think you're going to see him less on deep shots, more on like back shoulder fades, where you're trying to sell routes deep, sell Tre'Quan Smith over the top, and then have him come back. But yeah, I think the amount that you can get Emmanuel Sanders involved will be big. Yeah, I can't track the game actually, I think I can. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, look at that. Falcons. Falcons are blowing this one. So it looks like the Saints are going to have to do it themselves. Oh, that's nice. But hey, you're the grown person that showed up here to criticize him. So hey, how about that? Red tape. If you run into red tape on YouTube, he's going to be mean to you. Who dat from Rhode Island? Hey, one of my good friends lives next door. He's from Rhode Island originally, Ian McNulty. So I'll let him know you said hi, who dat warlord. All right. I think that's about all the questions. Well, actually, hold on. I got one more, and then we can close off. We seem to be a rhythm team, not great off of buys. If we lose a first-round buy, could it possibly be something beneficial? I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't think that there's any real correlation between a bye week and the Saints playing poorly. They played poorly last year off of a bye against the Falcons, but that's just something that happened. That's just kind of a freak game where you came out flat. I also think a bye week in the playoffs is a lot different from a bye week in the regular season. I mean, this week the Saints went on bye week 6 and they came back week 7 and they played really well against the Panthers. So, I mean, I don't think that I mean, you can. That's a very rose-colored glasses way to look at potentially losing the bye week. But when you have a team that has that many injury issues, when you have a quarterback who's coming back from 11 cracked ribs, and you're trying, and you have a team that, when healthy, can push anybody and compete, and should be if they're not a favorite, a very good bet to get to the Super Bowl and potentially win it. All you want to do is make sure that when you get to the playoffs, you have the healthiest version of your roster that you can possibly have. And the bye week helps you do that. That's not to say they don't have a chance, even if they lose that bye week. But on top of the bye week, it's not just the bye. You also then are set up to have to go to Lambeau Field in January and try to beat the Packers. That's just going to be a very difficult situation. I think the Saints not playing well in the cold is kind of overblown, but it's not something you want to have to do. You would much rather have them travel to New Orleans and beat them in your house. So we'll see. I think that getting that bye is important, but one thing to keep in mind is the Saints can lose today and still get that number 1 seed, assuming the Bears won, which they did, and that is good. So basically, don't freak out if the Saints lose today and completely give up on them getting the bye, because they very, very much can get that bye week. So the Packers went to 11-3 today. If the Saints lose, they go to 10-4. That's tough. I'm sorry, Packers 11-3, Saints 10-4. Yeah, that's tough, but it's still a situation where you can get there. So here's the scenario that is asking a lot of help, but it's not that unreasonable when you really consider what you're looking at. So the Packers' final 2 games are the Titans and the Bears. So if the Packers beat the Titans, it'll go into week 17, and they would have to lose to the Bears in this scenario for the Saints to get the 1 seed. The Saints would just have to win their final 2 games, Vikings, Panthers, and they would finish at 12-4. And the Seahawks would have to win their final 3 games and finish at 12-4. So when you go into that Week 17 game, if the Bears beat the Packers, all 3 teams are 12-4, and you go from the head-to-head tiebreaker to a 3-way tiebreaker where there's no head-to-head sweep. So the tie-breaking scenario will end up being the conference record. So I know I'm explaining this really kind of long form, and I have a post up on the website that kind of breaks it down better. But basically, what would happen in that scenario is all 3 teams would finish 12-4. If the Packers lose to the Bears, their conference record would be 9-3. The Seahawks would have a conference record of 9-3, and the Saints would end with a conference record of 10-2, and would end up on top. So basically, if the Saints lose today, you want to root hard for the Seahawks and the Bears. And the Bears winning today wasn't essential, but it was important because when they go into that Week 17 matchup, you want them to be competing for a wild card spot. You don't want them to have already been eliminated from the playoffs, because then you'll have a situation like last week where the biggest incentive was David Blau winning a car from Matt Bowers, and that's just not going to be enough. But if the Bears go into that game at home in a must-win, knowing that a win will get them into the playoffs, and the Packers go in knowing that a win will get them a week off, and that's really all they're playing for, you could see a weird result there, and it's in Chicago. That's a tough place to play for anybody, even without fans. So I'll leave you with that. I'll leave you with that tiny shred of optimism. Even if the Saints lose today, it is not completely over for that 1 seed. We're about 15 minutes from kickoff. I appreciate everyone who watched, who listened, who threw a comment in. Sorry I wasn't able to get to all of them. There's a lot of them, which I really do appreciate. I'll drop this off the screen. Again, my name is Jeff Nowak, digital sports producer for NOLA.com. Head over to NOLA.com and check out our live updates, our live feed, and all of our pregame content. Our beat writer is Amy Just, Luke Johnson, our columnist Rod Walker are out there at the Dome today. I have not been able to get credentialed this season, unfortunately, so I am in my office at home, but I'll be live tweeting the game, and I hope if y'all want to chime in, if y'all want to follow me on Twitter, send me a DM or ask me any questions, feel free. I love interacting with y'all. And until then, let's see. Drew Brees is back, baby. Saints Chiefs coming at you soon. CBS. Check it out. All right, y'all. Thanks. Peace.